Hey, Nathan here from PH Studios. Welcome back to another tutorial from the After Effects series that is part of the TDCS. And last tutorial we discussed a particle system, how to create a particle system and how to manipulate it to fit our needs. And the tutorial previous to that was advanced keying tutorials, where we discussed a way to animate some parts of our composition. So we're going to combine those two tutorials in this one and discuss a way to key a effect. So in this case, we're going to key a particle system, how to change its birth rate or change its particle size and stuff like that. So let's go ahead and create a new composition, and let's leave it by the default, and let's make it about 5 seconds long. Full 29.97 HD 720p. Let's call this keying particle system. Okay, so just like the last tutorial, let me go ahead and bring this down here. We're going to create a new solid layer. Remember, the particle system works on a solid layer. Let's call this particle. Let's leave this about a turquoise, or maybe make it a little bit more green. Click OK, and make sure the comp size is clicked, and then click OK. And then let's go to Effect, Simulation, CC Particle World. And I do not like the grids displayed, so I'm going to uncheck those. You might like them, you can leave them checked. Doesn't really do anything different. And then we have our particle system. Now the physics, I'm going to get rid of the gravity. So it'll be just like that. And the particle, I'm going to change it from a line to a lens convex. Okay. Now I'm going to move this layer to the left and expand it. So what that does is I'll have an instantly generated particle system instead of it slowly turning on. Okay, so now let's worry about keying it. Let's say right now I want to leave this particle system like it is. So I want to have a high birth rate and a high velocity. But let's say 1 second in, I want it to start slowing down. I want the birth rate to start changing, so I'm going to click this little stopwatch here on the birth rate, and then it takes about 1 second for it to completely die off. So I go down to the 2 second mark, change this to 0. So now we just animated the birth rate. As you can see, there's 2 key frames here for the birth rate. We set the 1 for 2 here at the 1 second mark, and at the 2 second mark we have it set to 0. Now if we do a RAM preview, that's what it'll look like. Now let's do the same thing, except for we will worry about the velocity. So let's go to the physics here, and let's keyframe the velocity at 1. And at the 2 second mark, again, let's decrease it to about 0.25. Alright, so if I click the layer again and press U, and then U again, I'll see all the keyframes I have done. So if I run preview this again, you should see the velocity slow down. If you did not see it, let's go ahead and move this in a little bit closer. Changing the birth rate, sorry about that. So let's go ahead and move the velocity in a little bit closer. And let's move them closer to each other as well. So it goes from 0, or 1, from 0.25. So as you can see that we had a big change there. Now I do not want it that massive change, so what I can do is I can do a right click the keyframes, do keyframe assistant and easy ease, and it will be a slow transition. And if you want to make it even slower, I set the keyframe of this and the keyframe of this far away from each other. So the farther away the keyframes become, the slower the transition will be. And if I do easy ease, it will start slow, it'll speed up about this point here, it'll be incredibly fast to change, and then it will slow down, and then we will have that result there. Alright, so pretty simple technique. We do not need to have a particle system to do this. We can have a layer or effect, a blur, for example, and a fast blur. Let's say at 1 second, I want to start blurring. It'll start at 0, and at 2 seconds it will be 100% or some value that we decide. That's a little bit too much. Alright. So it does not have to be a particle system. We can blur it. Any of the effects that have these little stopwatches here, you can use it for a keyframe. So if I do effect, distort, what's a cool distort we can do? Turbulent displace, we'll get into that a little bit later. Let's go ahead and just do a bulge. Let's see what that does. So this will kind of really bring up the effect of the bulge, the height and the radius. So what I can do here is I can set up the keyframe for both the bulge height and bulge radius, and then move forward by a certain amount, and then decrease the height Alright, so any of the effects, you can manipulate them over time, so we can have a keyframe. It's not just for a particle system. And of course, we can always do the main layer, which is change the opacity. So as it's being blurred, we can set a keyframe here and a keyframe here to change it to 0%. Now we just manipulated the main layer as well. So that's it for this tutorial. Next tutorial, we will create a very basic introduction video to your game. It'll just be a particle system effect over a text layer saying your website or your game or something, your productions, your website.productions or something like that. So I hope to see you next time.